Hey everyone, very good evening to you all. Welcome back. I hope you guys don't have any doubt in yesterday class. If any, let's discuss it. And particularly, we have started building or styling actually. I would say this the button, correct? So, if any doubt in that you guys have, please ask it. Please run your, I would say, the application whatever we have made yesterday. I would say button actually. Okay, just run it by npm start so that we can start it with our own. I would say uh, the next step of it, correct? So I hope everyone are perfect to this, correct? Okay, just make a setup of your system right now. I hope everyone is done with that. You need to talk to anyone, just tell me. Is there any doubt to anyone? Yes, a very good evening. Okay, perfect one. Perfect. Let's start with this. Okay, so I think we all have made yesterday. Just a minute now. Uh, this button, if I'm not wrong. Yes, you all have made this button, correct? The style components with the button dot style dot js with the button dot style. We have exported and imported in that section, correct? Okay, so today I'm just saying like today what actually we're gonna make it. Another style over here, a button, a fancy button we are gonna make with a linear gradient and all. But how we can make a fancy style button with similarly to this action? Correct, we have the style button. So instead of the style button, we are going to make another button that should be something adding some more styles in this. But that we are going to add it more of, I would say, the degrees and all with the same element, correct? So moving forward to that, okay, let's open your VS Code. So now you have saw that a very I would say a button how you can do it with starting with the props too and all, correct? So now we will be using towards and extending our styles. Okay. So suppose if you need to add something from the props or anything, you can add a prop over here or anything. You can add a styling of that. Okay. But now if you are going to extend the styles of it, correct, with a button on her. Okay, let's see with this. Only one and two CSS property we can use as of this. Okay, or any many of that we can create an or. Okay, so at the times that comes like we can use a conditional checks and all every time to this we can going to create that. Okay, so what happens like it helps you out to extend the styles of the existing components you already have. Okay, if in this particular section we need to add a fancy button over here, so what we will be doing it. Okay, let's make a style fancy component. Okay, let's export it. Export const fancy button. Let's write it, or I would say anything. Okay, fancy button. Okay, just code along with me only. Okay, if you'll see in this line number 3, okay, this line number 3. Okay, so we have used the style function with the button element, correct? So now, if now in this, we can also pass another React components in this. Okay, we are passing into the style function. Okay, now in this, let's go with this in the style button. And this, now we're going to use the temporal literals. So suppose if I need, I would say, I'm just adding a background image. I'm adding it. Okay, let's say it's a linear gradient. Okay, we're going to specify two colors in this. Okay, now two colors, like you can add any of this. Like suppose if I'm adding the colors to the right. Okay, now I'm adding color. Okay, I'm just adding a color. Let's say any color you can add it. Oh, we have 365. Okay, any color you can go with. It's not compulsory. Let's give it an intensity to in this. Okay, you can give it according to yourself. Okay, this thing. And if I'll say about the FTAs and all, like this, anything. So let's give it as 100% of intensity. Okay, if I've given this, now I'm going to add a border also, that is none. If you need to change it or anything, you can change it. Okay, any colors you can give, in anything you can give it to particular. Okay, now we are going to import the component button.js. Okay, in this button.js. So we have import style button. Okay, so style button in this only we will give a fancy button. Okay, also now we are going to export also, export the fancy button. Okay, like this, the fancy button. Okay, okay, like this. Now in this we need to invoke the component and invoke it. Okay, so in this particular section we have only already have the style button, correct? So the style button we already have. Let's say like we need to give a break or anything in next line and all, so we can use this too. Okay, or like if you need not to give, it's all up to you. Okay, let's give it into this. Okay, and after that let's make another, I would say, or no, first of all let's give it as an import in this section too, comma. Okay, in the fancy button. Okay, in the component slash button the JSX. Now we going to include the fancy button. Okay, so suppose if I'm giving actually a dev to this particular section. Okay, let's give a dev and closing that dev. And this dev, let's say that we are invoking the fancy button over there. Okay, and let's close it. Correct. So if I need to give anything in my fancy button, like say let's say that it's a fancy button. Okay, like this. Okay, so you can see that a fancy button is appearing over here, a linear gradient is there. and all. Okay, now suppose if I have a particular instance to do this particular formations and all, so you can see that you have a particular every save, the file has been own position. Now if you will save your file, okay, now you will see that everything we are going to visit, correct? Now suppose if I'll give a button in the styles one, a border to, let's give it as a 2 pixel, 3 pixel, anything. Okay, let's say 2 pixel. Okay, now if we need to invoke this with a color, correct? So suppose it's a solid black. Okay, so the black color is already we having it. So it's in invoking something with a prior, I would say, a button that is styled button. We have used it in this particular section, correct? So that is one thing that you can do it with a random approach, correct? So it's all up to you. It's not like if you need to just get towards a button only. I'm just saying to the button because it's a hard, I would say, the button is an hard for the styling of any elements, correct? So this thing you can do it within every instance, whether a button, whether a heading, image, anything. Okay, so till here just perform this, let me know, then I'll move forward. Okay. So if I'll tell you about more about the conditional part of every button, every conditions, or adding or passing the props or anything, okay, you can do it. Okay, that I'm pretty sure about it. But that depends upon how you can give a prop a condition. Correct. Now, if I'll say that a prop is being used, okay, a prop is being used, or hooks are used in styling something, okay. So if I say there's a conditional part, or I would say the reactional part of it, correct? So why we use it and how we particularly know that particular functions and class components or anything, correct? Example is passing the prop stuff. So let me just tell you by this. Give me a minute. Perfect. It's okay, Deepak. If you're not able to attend yesterday class, the recording session is already there. Okay, and attendance link, I would say, like at the end of this class, I would say, you will get the attendance link. You can simply put your attendance over there. Okay, so at the end of this class, I particularly repeated like the attendance, like I used to put in the live chat and all. He can go for that and apply it. Okay, and fill that form particularly. So it's an, I would say, 7-day boot camp. Okay. So at the last 2 days, we're gonna make a project that is a landing page using a style components and all. Okay. Yes, Isaac. I particularly installed a style component in this. Okay. Now I'm just opening one of my Microsoft notebook. Okay, this thing. I hope it is visible to you all. let's go with this. Like, why only components and props? Like, we know, like, every component lets you to split a UI into an independent. Let's say, let's write it components and props. Okay. Now we know every component, it lets you to split into a UI, correct? And this UI, every UI, I would say, or splitting of any every UI, it's independent. I would say it is reusable, as I already told. I'm telling you from last 3 days only. Okay, and it thinks about the isolation of each and every piece of a component. Okay, so these three things, correct? So every conceptual part of a component in a JavaScript, okay, as a function or anything, they are given as an arbitrary inputs that is particularly called as an props. Okay, components are just like, I would say, it is just like, I would say, JavaScript function. Okay, you guys, if you know about the what are the JavaScript functions and all, so you particularly know about the props of that. Okay, components are just like the JavaScript function, and they particularly get accepted to an arbitrary inputs, and that inputs are called, I would say, props. So what happen when any prop and they are going to return to React elements? Okay, these are going to return to React elements describing like whatever it appears on a screen of it. Okay, if I'll say that any simplest function, or I would give a class component or anything. Okay, I'm just defining a component in it. Suppose if I'm writing a function, suppose I'm writing Anshika. Okay, anything you can write and just passing a props in this. Okay, now I need to return to a value, or I would say function of this. Like, just write in h1 of hello world. This is this bracket. Okay. Okay. I'm just writing hello world, and I'm just passing a prop. Okay. Prop name, and what is my prop name? It's Anshika. Correct. A prop name, and let's close in heading. Correct. So this function, what it's validating, so this is validating a React component because it accept a single prop in this, which means it stands for a property in this. Correct. So every time a object argument is there, whether data or anything, it is going to return to a React element. Correct. We call this as in such like an component, a function component, because they're literally a JavaScript function. Correct. So you can also use a ES66, okay, class to define a component. Okay, similarly to this, if you need to, okay, this will be returning to a prop with an heading in this, correct, and rendering to a particular position. So if I need to render, I would say the React element representing the tags or anything, I'll simply go with a dev. Okay, and simply go with a dev that would be containing some elements or components in this. Okay, if you are going to perform certain things as in props, or I would say the components or anything. Okay, so you better know about how we can do that as in sample prop or anything. Correct. So if I'll say that, let's say this is DevTown component. Okay, let's say this. So if I say that, I'm just passing a prop that is sample prop or anything like that. Okay, this is all together. And in this, I'm performing hello, closing it. Okay. In this particular snippet, I would say that we are passing a prop name that is hello. Okay, to a component to named as DevTown component. Okay, so this prop has a value that is hello. Okay, the prop is having a value that is hello, and particularly we can access these props too. Correct. We can access any prop inside any components class to which the prop is passed towards. Okay, and the props can be accessed what we can do is we can give it as in this. okay, dot prop new, okay, like this, okay, anything like that. I'm just randomly explaining you what you can do it within this particular part. We can access any prop from inside a components class using this syntax, okay. Just remember it, and after that we can use it that name of a prop, that are the, we actually know that are the keys of the objects and all. Okay, you can formally go towards the how to render it, and what actually we can uh, pass the, why we need to pass the function based on a component and all that particular instances of it, correct. Now if I'll tell you about why only we use props, okay, or why only we use props instead of all the conditions we actually have, correct. So if I'll tell you about only any props are there, and that are particularly used in a React and in a function programming and all. Okay, such function like these function and the pure functions and all. Okay, and in React the props are read only. Okay, when you are using the React component, you can pass it some input data, or you can do it within something as an, I would say, the work with that and all. These properties are called props actually, okay. And these are read only values, and that is going to define the basic starting point of every component in this. In JX6, props just like I would say HTML attribute. If you guys know about the HTML attribute, so you're much familiar to then JSX of, I would say, props actually in JSX. Okay, okay. The advantages we have of in props, like one advantage is like we can only pass a unidirectional, that is the parent or a child. Okay, prop symbolizes I would say a special keyword, okay, and that stands for a properties, okay. And also another condition or advantage of this is the prop can be used for the dynamic data to a component, okay. And always a component renders when data in the prop changes, okay. Always remember, like always a prop will render whenever a data is going to change in a component, correct. Just like, if you guys are understanding the concept of this, because tomorrow what we're going to do is we are going to play with the I would say the props, correct. So extending the props, I would say, then we are going to add a pseudo classes. Then what we're going to use is like why only this, okay. I'm just going to give an example of, like, what if, like, using this button, okay, using that this button, we're going to use that this button too, but alternative to this, okay, using the props. Like suppose this has yellow black color, okay, I don't need this as in yellow black, but similarly to in this design we will pass a props over here. We will pass the props to background color and color both. Like suppose if it's a blue, I would say yellow color, I need a text of color as in black, okay. If a color is going to be black, so I need the background color to be black, I need a color to a white, correct. So correspondingly we're going to pass some props in this, and again in this section of this we're going to pass some pseudo codes and all, pseudo classes actually, okay, so that it can perform certain different attributes in a one go, correct. Any doubt to anyone till here? Okay, I'll repeat it. The props. It's okay, Ajay. I'll do one thing. I'll once the class is going to over, I'll put the attendance over there, attendance sheet actually over here. Okay, this thing. Okay. So if I'll say about the if the prop is an object or class, so props an object, okay, containing all the props passed into a such components, okay, and the prop name, that the name of any prop and should be validated, okay. So is an prop an object, okay, like we can access an entire object which is usually known as an, I would say, a prop, correct. Or they can be deconstructed also, since prop we know will always be a object, correct, into a separate variable in this, correct. So if I'll tell you about the prop again, like understand one thing, what prop means. Prop means properties, correct. So the it stands for properties, but they are read only component, okay, read only and only component part, correct. So one thing is, like, remember the steps, like it is an object which stores the value of an attribute of tag and almost works similar to an html attributes, okay. So every time it behaves like similar to an html attributes, and it gives up a way to pass, I would say, to pass the data from one component to another, from one to another, okay. And it is similar to the function that we have as an arguments also perform the same. And props are immutable. Why they are immutable? Okay, why they are immutable, that we cannot, I would say, modify it. Props, we cannot modify any prop from inside the component, correct. So inside the component, I would say, we can add the attributes which is called props, okay. And these attributes are available in the components, as in, I would say, this props or anything, you can render them, okay. And when you need to immute the data or make it as an immutable data in the component, you just need to add the props, or you can just render it or into a mean, I would say, file or anything like that. Okay, so we have a default props also, okay. It is not necessary to always add a prop into the something like react dom dot render and all, okay. You can also set it as a default prop directly to the component constructor in this, okay. And also, if I'll say about the state and props, it is possible to combine both the state and the props in your app, okay. You will set the state in the parent component and pass it in a child component in this particular section, okay. So you can particularly do this too. So I'm just providing attendance sheet to you all. Make sure everyone is going to fill that, okay. I'm just providing that, so make sure everyone is going to fill it, and please, like, fill that, because I'm not going to provide every time, but yeah, I'm just providing it now. Those who are attending the session, okay, make sure please fill your attendance sheet. It's a, I would say, form. So this question, we if you attended the, I would say, second class, yesterday class, okay, or the first class, correct? Yes, you are getting it. So particularly if you will attend, you have attended that class, you particularly know why we use style components. We can style a button through a CSS also, correct? So why only we are using a style components while obtaining that all the sections of it, correct? Kindly, I've put the, I would say, attendance link, okay. Just open this link and make sure, like, you everyone fill this, okay. So you have a full name, phone number, WhatsApp number, feedbacks and all, college name and graduation years. You need to fill that. Okay. Any doubt to anyone? So make sure everyone is going to fill it. I hope you liked it today's session about how we are going to use the tomorrow we are going to perform something with the props actually in the same button. And often if you guys are understanding this button part, okay, just try to implement this with a heading part too. Okay, just try to implement it with something regarding a heading or images or anything, because if you are going to play with the code, then only you're gonna understand it. Okay, something like just print your name only in something in a stylish, I would say something in a fancy manner. Okay, or I would say just style it according to whatever you need it. Okay, just make a dev, style that heading, header tags and all. Okay, just style it. Okay, just make sure like you are styling that in a better way. Okay, just like a button only, you are going to go with something, making a folder, then adding some styles and that, importing and exporting to different files actually, and whatever you can do it with that. Just play with the code. Correct. Again, I'm just putting a attendance link in this. Okay, if you guys have missed it or anything, again I'm just going to add the, I would say I'm adding attendance list in this. Make sure you are visiting and opening this and fill this. Okay, okay, thank you so much guys for watching this, for coming to the live. Okay, tomorrow we're gonna perform with props. Okay, thank you so much.